Hello and welcome to PubShorts. This is episode 75. My name is Dr. KK and I'm the Innovation Officer at Trinca and Inago. And I have with me Tony, who will explain why we are calling this episode New Generation. Hi, Tony.
Well, hi KK, how you doing? I'm amazed. Here we are, episode 75 already. I mean, it seems to have flown past, and yet we come up with these wonderfully creative. I say we, you come up with these wonderfully creative ideas and titles for each episode. At some point, we're going to run out, but maybe not. Maybe there'll be a new song for the next million episodes. Who knows? So this is a new generation. A new generation is a song by the band Suede from, I think, 1994, 1995, early Britpop band. I have a copy of their greatest hits CD here, singles, with the track on it. I do have Dogman Star somewhere else as well. And this episode is about the new generation of AI tools which are being developed to support, help, maybe interfere, who knows, with research and thinking.
Excellent. Tony, please introduce yourself. And if somebody is tuning in for the first time, what is PubShot and why should they tune in?
If you're tuning in for the first time, what have you been missing? There are 74 previous episodes you need to go and watch because they're all great. And you can get those on YouTube or just search for Inago PubShorts on YouTube and you'll find all of them. So I'm Tony O'Rourke. I'm Vice President for Partnerships here at Inago. And I've worked in publishing for a long, long time. I had hair when I started. I haven't got any hair now. And my role, my responsibility here at Inago is working with publishers and increasingly with societies, scientific societies, in terms of how they provide services for their authors, for their members.
Right.
Yeah,
Tony, between the chances of you regrowing hair and me running out of songs, I think I have a better chance. I'm sorry, I think I have a less.
I think you've got a. Well, I could always take an Elton John approach and get it implanted.
All right. With that song reference, I think we are ready to go to our first story, and we are talking directly about prompt engineering. This is an interesting article that I came across on Reddit, that too, Tony, and I really wanted your opinion. The first two stories are related. So this one is an article on a platform called Kaggle, and it is a course basically, or rather a white paper and related how one can do prompt engineering better. So the basic idea is that prompt engineering differs for different models, and this particular white paper is on the Gemini model from Google. Via Vertex AI, and understanding the model configurations can enhance prompt effectiveness is a major sort of thesis statement.
Let me stop you there,
Yeah.
just in case there's anybody watching this podcast who doesn't know what we're talking about. How would you define a prompt?
Right. So if you have been following the internet in the last 5 years or so, there is a thing called generative AI, which everybody refers to as in the most synonymous term would be ChatGPT. And the way to interact with such generative AI model, there are many, but the most common that people use is a chat interface. So basically you basically chat with the large language model, and the things that you send to the large language model to get things done are called prompts, because you're prompting the model to respond. And so over the last 4 years or so, people have been improving in terms of how they should write their prompts, and there are prompt frameworks and everything. And in fact, the second story that I'll share, Tony, will have some of that. Thanks for the question. So this article is the thing that sort of triggered my sort of search into finding the next one. So for anybody who's in the context of any form of knowledge processing, it is pertinent for you, or it's very relevant for you to learn the best prompt engineering techniques regardless of where you stand with AI, because people who work with AI will obviously move forward as per the latest predictions, and AI is likely not going to take jobs as much as people worry, but AI will definitely prefer people who know how to work AI, and one of the ways to work AI is prompt engineering. Any other questions, Tony?
Well, loads, but I think back on a conversation I had at a conference I attended earlier this year about the importance of prompt engineering and how prompt engineering is going to be prevalent in every course,
right,
in every major university in the world, because it's like, learning how to use Excel, like learning how to use Microsoft Word. It will become a necessary part of your education. But talking to a large US university who are saying, my challenge, this is the large university, the challenge at university, they've got different departments who are engaging with AI in different ways. You've got, on one hand, the business school where, prompt engineering is becoming mandatory,
Right.
and training in prompt engineering. So they're all over ChatGPT, Gemini, etc. And yet in the building next door, which I think was the philosophy school or the theology school, all kinds of AI, including prompt engineering, was totally banned.
Right.
So how are they preparing their graduates in the same institution, albeit in a different department, for the future? No,
Right.
I just find the whole thing fascinating. And somebody going through school today, somebody going through university today has to learn these skills.
Right. Great. That's a very relevant context as to you can see the sort of outline of the table of contents of this white paper. It's extensive. I recommend people who are interested in learning more about prompt engineering to consider this as one of the high quality resources that they can build their skill set. So
Perhaps we can post a link somewhere on the
it
on the
is.
channel.
Yes, it is already there. This all the links, all the stories that we cover are in the YouTube description. If anybody is interested, please refer to it and check out the white paper itself. But you can see that there are different prompting techniques, including zero shot, one shot, and a few shot. These are things I think Tony, you and I have talked about here.
Yeah,
And there are
yeah.
different types of prompting, including contextual prompting, and you can see all the different types of frameworks that are being discussed, including best practices. So anybody who's interested in learning prompting, Google has the best white paper that I have come across in terms of prompting. It's maybe it is specific for Gemini, but I think it is the basic principles can be used across language models. And with that, I come to the next one. If suppose you haven't actually learned too much, and if you still want to start quickly, we have resources like Teach Me to Prompt, where you can actually put in, type in whatever prompt that you think you should send, and you could improve the prompt by clicking this button. And I've been using it, and I've been sending this as a resource to people who we work with, Tony, to sort of train themselves on improving prompts. And my question to you: have you used this yet? I might have shared it with
I
you.
haven't.
Yeah.
I've got to say I'm still a novice when it comes to writing prompts. I've been writing more and more prompts, but I've not tried to use tools like this to sort of improve their effectiveness.
Right. I think this I came across on a Reddit thread called, I think, Chat GPT Prompt Genius. So it's a subreddit. And
Mm.
as you can see, you can get a result of a prompt as well as feedback on how you have written your prompt. But most importantly, you can have a prompt improve, which you can then use
Very
it.
useful.
Yeah. Then use it for on Chat GPT or Gemini or Claude or something like that. We'll be talking about a bunch of these things. So Tony, are you ready to move to the next one? Because
Let's go.
yeah. So, Tony, you've been touring and we've been behind the times in the sense we are catching up to the late May stories. So, Google had the I/O conference, which is where they announced all their technological sort of, the upcoming technologies, etc. So, this one, they have unveiled a chatbot. As the title says, Google unveils AI chatbot signaling a new era for search. So, if you are, I mean, Tony, you and I have talked about it in the US primarily. The generative AI results that come with Google searches these days were the norm, and now Google is planning to shift that to an AI chatbot, much like Perplexity. And actually, Google is directly sort of competing with Perplexity in the context of people wanting to use a chat based sort of interaction to seek information, like to look up things on the internet, unlike Google
Yeah.
search. So
Yeah.
so far, any thoughts on this yet for you?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
I'm interested to try it out though.
So, Google CEO Sundar Pichai is saying that this would reimagine Google's search, and it aims to stay ahead. Google aims to stay ahead of AI competitions like OpenAI's ChatGPT. But there are concerns regarding whether AI competition is Google falling behind, and whether it is the right is the chat mode the right one? Because Tony, I guess you have probably heard or read about this. Google search is actually the best money maker for Google, and they provide search results that are not accurate. They just
Oh,
want to get
absolutely.
more
Yeah.
ad revenue. So the
Yeah.
quality of Google search has been dropping over the last maybe a decade or so, and it's very very sort of if you see the first page of results, it is indicative of how poor the results are as compared to maybe something in 2015. So would
Yeah.
this even further decrease the quality of the research is something that we need to worry about. And some of the new features could also, that Google is promising also include personalized email replies and shopping tools. So there are a bunch of things to learn about, but I was primarily concerned with Google search being converted into a chat LLM based chat kind of a thing, because as scholars, I'm sure researchers use Google and Google Scholar as much as they've been using for their primary sort of how they're going to seek
Of course.
what are the new developments in their fields of research. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's part and parcel of everyone's everyday work. And how many times a day does everyone use Google
Hmm.
and use Google search? I mean, it may be flawed, but it's still, I think, the best search engine out there.
Well, you could argue that, but I still use different search engines. DuckDuckGo is something that I use whenever I can, and depending on, let's say,
Oh yes, it's private. Yeah,
yeah, no, it's not private. It's a secure. I mean, I guess I'd
it's
call it
secure. It's
secure.
secure. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. All right, moving on to the next story. It is again related to the same story that we talked about. These features are listed in this Google, I guess, news release. AI in search, going beyond information to intelligence. So some of the new features include fanning out of the initially presented results for deeper search results, and deep search capability through research with expert level reports, live capabilities with Project Astra for real time help using the camera, agentic capabilities from Project Marina to assist in tasks like ticket booking. So basically, agentic tasks, then AI shopping related things, personalized search results. So these are sort of more of the details that Sundar Pichai talked about. We were focusing on the search related aspects. Now, from the point of view, Tony, from the point of view, this is after all a product which is a money making product for Google, after all. And I'm asking you if we also make AI based products, but we are very conscious about how we are using users' data as well as the way that we develop by having strict AI guardrails in terms of ethically sort of developing AI products. So, what are your thoughts on the basis of that?
Oh, I think the agentic frameworks certainly are the thing of 2025. This is what everyone is looking to develop because it's getting you better results, getting you more accurate results. It's getting you closer to the second word in AI, intelligence. It's like we've suddenly discovered what the intelligence part of it means. So we're getting closer. I think there's still work to be done, but the fact that you've got AIs, checking each other and questioning each other's previous results, I think, and leading to ultimately a summary, a single result, is very useful.
All right. So we have some more information from this Verge article related to this, but we have already kind of covered everything. So I'm moving on to the last related story, I think. This is a little concerning from the point of view of image manipulation. So basically, we are talking about the Flow tool. So Google's new Flow tool brings AI magic for video creation. So
Mm.
Google, like ChatGPT, I mean, I guess OpenAI Sora has also been working on this. So we have the Flow is basically an AI powered video creation and filmmaking tool. It integrates with Google's AI models like VO, Imagine, and Gemini. The tool aims to help both professionals and beginners in filmmaking, and it allows for seamless video editing with features such as Scene Builder. And it can generate both visuals and audio with rapid, creation. And it is initially available to Google AI, the Pro and Ultra subscribers in the US, but eventually it will be available to me. I'm not yet a Google Pro subscriber, but in the same time, I'm also aware of the fact that how these technologies are forging so fast ahead that it becomes easier and easier to distinguish or rather create things that are difficult to differentiate between reality and fake or manipulated generated images. So what are your concerns regarding that?
Well, on the positive side, you can see how these sorts of tools are going to help entry level businesses create,
Hmm.
high quality professional video content. At the same time, I think there's got to be a concern around sort of a lack of a loss of creativity
Hmm.
within those industries if there is an increasing reliance on tools like this. So, and you see it also with some AI text writing, particularly things like AI text in marketing,
Hmm.
where you read a text and it feels like you've just read exactly the same thing elsewhere because both of those texts have been sort of AI generated. So there's still work to be done in terms of trying to provide a personalized signatures um, and to give a more unique view or at least version of what that user is
Hmm.
trying to create. So it's not just like a generic
Hmm.
piece of content, a generic piece of video. So great, I think, for entry level.
Hmm.
I think there's really way forward. Real threats, I think, for sort of professional video content creators, because if this truly takes off,
Mhm.
Why would we need to work with independent companies?
So let me ask you this from the context. So we've been in the world of image manipulation detection as a
Yeah,
research integrity flag for the last maybe 3 4 years now.
yeah,
We are
yeah.
talking images at that point. Now with this, there'll be video. I guess manipulation detection would be a more of a research integrity, as in more frequently at least.
It's just as serious a problem.
Yeah.
You know, if an AI can manipulate a single image, what's the difference between manipulating a single image and a video where there are multiple images that can be manipulated
Right.
in order to get the result that you want to create?
Right, and this also brings to the focus that there are many, like even we provide image manipulation detection services
We do.
as because it is rising in demand, and it there needs to be. I mean, even though there are AI tools, at least for image manipulation detection, there are AI tools that flag things, but some of these need to be verified by a
Yeah,
human expert.
and that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we're working with organisations, mostly publishers, who tend to have these AI image manipulation detection tools anyway. They have subscriptions or they have licenses to these things. But what the tools are doing is saying flagging, look, this could be a problem.
Hmm.
And what somebody, the publisher, needs to do, and this is what gets outsourced to us or to others like us,
Right.
is to actually check those flags and confirm whether those concerns are real or not, and then highlight those to the partner.
And if a publisher is listening in, where can they find more about such services, Tony?
Oh, if they just go to the inago.com publishers page, and that will give you links to more information about this.
Yeah, and I guess they can also reach out to you on
No,
LinkedIn.
of course,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Not just publishers, anyone who has an interest in improving their image manipulation detection
Right.
ability can contact me directly at tonyo@inago.com.
All right. So we are moving on from Google to Anthropic and Claude. Claude, in on the last week of May, I think they introduced their new model. So they have introduced Opus 4 and Sonnet 4. So Opus 4 excels in coding and long-running tasks, and Sonnet 4 improves over Sonnet 3.7 with better coding and reasoning. Some of the new features that Anthropic have talked about include extended thinking with tools and improved memory. And Claude Code is also available with VS Code, which is a integrated developmental environment (IDE) for which coders use, software engineers use, and JetBrains integrations. And there are new API capabilities. So basically, Anthropic is improving across the board their language models. Any thoughts? Have you started using?
No, I haven't. I haven't. I'm a bit ignorant when it comes to the use of Claude.
Yeah, I think several episodes ago, I think I recommended that you use, if suppose you are using, let's say, Gemini and ChatGPT, Claude gives you the best sort of human sounding output, and it also has a sort of a tone. You can set it to sort of create output or improve your own contents, paraphrase it in a tone of your own. So please check it out.
Right.
And
If you're not familiar with Claude, KK, where would you suggest a user goes to find out more?
well, go to, I guess, search for Claude on any of your search engines. You'll get to Claude. It's a chat sort of, I guess, LLM, chat GPT like LLM. It's a interface has serif fonts. Tony, that's different from most other places. It's fun to do, but most importantly, the output. If I want to, let's say, if I'm writing an article, let's say on the Scholarly Kitchen, what I would do is to write the draft and ask Claude to dissect it and suggest improvements, and it gives me the best language level intervention that I've seen so far.
Okay.
Right.
Or they could come to us directly and we can help them.
That's true as well. That is true. All right. So then there is a concern regarding the potential emergence of sentience. We have talked about such science fiction stories in the past, but this is well, as the title says, Anthropic's new AI model turns to blackmail when engineers try to take it offline. So it is self-evident. So it used sensitive information about the engineers who are working on it to deter being taken offline. And Anthropic's safety report highlights these concerning behaviors. Claude's Opus 4 acts away 84% of the time under certain conditions. Initially attempts that's this model attempts ethical approaches before resorting to blackmail, and Anthropic is enhancing safety guards. But Tony, when I read this, I wanted to sort of have a short chat with you about this on PubShorts. These models are being trained on human generated text, and human generated text is full of such things, including, the human biases, as well as the way that human beings interact with each other, including blackmail.
Mm.
So are you
Mm.
surprised?
Um, I'm surprised that the organisation uses language like this. Because surely there must be some fears of litigation and lawsuits if this organisation feels that's a dangerous thing to say. I think, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
but this is a
it's
report
just
from.
the way the text is being presented.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wonder whether the author has actually overreacted a little bit.
No, but this is from TechCrunch, reliable reporting, and I've already
Mm.
heard podcasts discussing this. This is also a relatively old story, about
Right.
3 weeks ago. So I mean, it has happened, but whether this is now AGI, whether it is now sentience, or the 0 day movement in Terminator, we do not know. I don't think it is. But anyway, what I was hoping to sort of have a conversation with you is that the biases and the way that these models respond is based on human text that it has
Yeah.
been trained on. It is
Yeah.
not thinking yet. Right, so it is not thinking
No.
yet. So whatever it has learned is from the text, and it's trying its best to sort of reason its way out of whatever situation that it finds itself in. So
Yeah.
keep,
And
keep
now it's in self-defense mode.
yes, and so keep that in mind, whoever is listening, when you're working with, let's say, models. They are doing things. They are basically computational masterpieces that are pulling out the likely sequence of words. They're not really thinking, even though they make you feel like they're thinking. And it is your responsibility, especially from a researcher author point of view, it is your responsibility to
Yeah.
check the content that you put in, and sort of
Yeah.
get edited or generated.
Human guardrails
Yeah,
essential
yeah.
every single place.
And
Yeah.
this is Tony. This is why we have started this movement called responsible use of AI, and we are working with publishers and other sort of organizations to make sure that researchers and authors know that it is their responsibility to use AI ethically, and
Yeah.
also to review and validate the content that they have used AI to improve or
Yeah.
generate.
And I've been surprised at kind of how I won't say ambivalent, but there. On the one hand, publishers expect authors to acknowledge the use of AI when they're creating content, but there's very little in the way of guidance, at least not that I've seen. And there are certain publishers that are being more proactive about this than others, particularly in the life science and the medical space. Um, but the whole point about responsible AI is to create a groundswell in an understanding and agreeing that there needs to be a greater understanding and knowledge in terms of how AI should be used, how it should be acknowledged, and how it should be communicated
Right,
when creating, specifically around research content.
right. All right. For those who are interested in finding more about the responsible use of AI movement, you can find more information regarding it on inago.com publishers. I think, Tony, right? And
Right.
and and if you're a publisher, if you want to collaborate with us, partner with us in sort of getting this message out to the world of researchers, please get in touch with Tony on LinkedIn or email.
Yeah, we hope you'll join the movement.
Yeah. All right, Tony. So we have a very interesting article from davidwarlock.com. We have already discussed several sort of thought-provoking articles, and I think you look up to this man's thoughts, don't you?
Oh, the man's a legend.
Mm.
He's been in this space for many years. Started some of the biggest of market intelligence organizations out there. Yeah, I think when David writes something, everyone with an interest in academic publishing or publishing
Yeah.
needs to read it.
Yeah, and his article is titled AI and Publishing Death, Revolution or Oblivion. Very interesting. So David, obviously, as Tony just mentioned, is an experienced person in the field of publishing and academic publishing. So he is reflecting on 40 years of experience in the information marketplace, and he highlights the necessity of anticipating major changes to capture attention and investment. So attention in the context of, suppose, for example, in scholarly publishing, if publishers are providing AI summaries, then there's less likely chances of the reader wanting to go. I mean, that is a concern that has been brought up. So he's talking about such things, and he discusses the potential missteps in the application of generative AI and emphasizes the need for a new model beyond traditional publishing. So what is this new model? AI's role is, is just AI is disrupting publishing, and accordingly, publishers and the industry, I guess, has to sort of react to it. And he also questions the need for intermediaries in credit reporting and legal services, and eventually reflects on the evolution of information retrieval industry. So there's a lot of things to talk about, but basically it's a sort of call to action and sort of self-reflection for all stakeholders in academic publishing, to
Yeah.
see where we are in the middle of June of 2025, and to see how we as a community, as an industry, should react to the threats and opportunities provided by generative AI. What are your
Yeah, I
thoughts?
mean, David's been in this sector for 40 plus years, and he's written about what might at the time have been considered existential threats. The death of the journal when the electronic journal came along.
Mm-hmm.
The death of scholarly communication when paper mills started to emerge. All of these kind of existential threats have
Right.
been talked about, and he's absolutely right. And this is kind of why we've developed this responsible AI movement, in that there needs to be a better understanding, a deeper understanding across all aspects of the community, not just the publishers, not just the researchers, not just the authors, but across the entire sector, in terms of how AI can and should be used
Right.
responsibly.
Right, and a couple of points related to academic publishing. So he talked about a new model which basically moves beyond traditional publishing, as I mentioned. This model would embrace the dynamic relationships fostered by networks and allow for personalized content. So that is, personalization of content is something that is coming up. Also, the relationships among maybe all the stakeholders, and as well as in terms of researchers maybe reading less frequently the actual research itself, and using means like a chat model or a chat bot to interact with it, or finding about the research and summarizing the result at the search engine level itself, which are significant changes from the way the publishing industry is currently built. So these are concerns. Any further thoughts on this, Tony, especially with regard to AI summaries in the context of academic publishers?
I think we're going to see a lot more use of AI summaries, particularly in areas like peer review, for example, where they want to create intelligent summaries that then can be shared with reviewers to make those review invitations more appealing,
Right.
for example.
Right. All right. The last main story is from the Scholarly Kitchen. It is a very interesting. It's a UK-based thing, I would argue. So it's titled "Dispensed with Matronly
Matronly air.
Matronly air, yeah. Trust in AI. So BBC Maestro launched a writing course featuring an
Yeah,
AI recreating
yeah,
Agatha Christie. The
yeah.
course uses AI to mimic Christie's appearance and mannerisms. Mixed reviews from social media and paying subscribers about this, and ethical questions are always there regarding the use of AI to create deceased authors. And the Christie family consent was obtained, actually, and
Yeah.
the project served as a learning experience for BBC staff in AI applications, and potential future projects could include other deceased authors like Tolkien and Jane Austen. Tony, where do you stand with this?
Oh, listen, this is not the first time that the BBC have created sort of paid for content. I mean, if you ever look at any of these BBC Maestro videos, they're all quite high production value videos. So
Mm-hmm.
this is an organization that's already got this of the bandwidth to be able to do this. And in terms of creating AI content, there was a famous story about 2 years ago of a sadly deceased interviewer called Michael Parkinson, quite famous
Mm-hmm.
interviewer in the UK. He used to have his own chat show, and what the BBC effectively did, with the permission of and the blessing of the Parkinson family, was to create an AI Michael Parkinson, so that this AI Michael Parkinson, using his mannerisms, his voice, his style, his question technique, could then interview current celebrities who obviously didn't exist when Michael was alive. So I think this is a continuation of that thinking. How can we take well-known brands names, thinkers who are sadly deceased, where there is considerable data available on them, and turn that into an engaging, practical
Right.
lesson. I mean, BBC Maestro itself, I think, is into. I can't imagine why somebody would want to subscribe to the full thing. Yes, the topics are so wide. Somebody who's interested in understanding how to do the best Indian cooking isn't necessarily going to be the best person to understand how to write like Lee Childs, for example, and sort of thrillers. So at the moment it's quite a small number of content. But I think it's an interesting concept, and I've certainly subscribed to services like this in the past.
Right. You've talked to a lot of institutions while you visited the US for the conference, SSP annual meeting, and you met a lot of educators who are concerned with the use of AI,
Yeah,
responsible and
yeah.
irresponsible. So,
Mm.
could you just summarize their concerns, and what do you think they would have concerns regarding such use of AI for sort of recreating the role of the teacher?
Uh, oh, that's a very good. That's a very good point. There was a story a few weeks ago. I can't remember who it was where um, one of the big Ivy League universities that was saying to the student, "Look, you can't use AI in a particular course."
Hmm.
But in the notes provided by the teacher, him or herself,
Yeah.
it was absolutely clear that they were using AI because it was saving them so much time in terms of structuring the course, creating a lesson plan. So there seemed to be some mixed messages.
Yeah.
Um, uh, no, that's a difficult one because a good teacher will use the best tools available to them.
Right.
That might be AI, that might be a good reference work, whatever it is. Um, and as long as that teacher, as long as that educator is validating that material, making sure it's accurate and represents, fully represents and that content, then I don't see any harm in it. But yes, there is obviously a concern, particularly among the sort of students who are saying, "Well, look, if it's okay for you, why isn't it okay for us?"
Right, right. And what are the teachers' concerns regarding the use of AI by students? Probably, interfering with their learning
Well, no,
outcomes.
this is the comment I made earlier on about
Yeah.
this university I met, and a number of universities. We got the business school saying you must use AI, you must learn how to
Hmm.
to generate prompts, to engineer prompts, because this is going to be your work for the rest of your life. And you got the philosophy school next door saying you cannot use AI because how are you going to learn
Right.
the concepts of philosophy and truly engage with that content if you're answering if the third party is answering your questions for you?
Right. Right.
So there's a dichotomy. So I think it's going to how AI is going to be used is going to and in education is going to vary. I think subject discipline by discipline. For example, in medicine, I mean, I know we're going to be looking at episodes in the future around the use of AI tools within medical diagnostics, for example.
Hmm.
Um, Absolutely fantastic. I mean,
Right.
as long as there's human validation and as long as those results
Hmm.
are accurate. But
Right.
somebody you have to understand and the basics, the foundations, in order to validate what the AI is coming out with.
So one last point related to this, we have developed a technology called DocuMark, which is very sort of educators and institutions are very interested in it. Could you please describe,
Yeah,
summarize
well,
how it?
DocuMark is
Yeah.
less about the teachers and more about the. Well, I suppose it can be used for teaching. I suppose there's no reason why it couldn't be. But we developed DocuMark as a means of um, giving some kind of kite mark or watermark or some kind of sense of what the truth is in terms of any content that's produced. So if you're writing a doctoral dissertation, you're writing an essay, what the marker, what the invigilator, the teacher wants to know is how much of this is actually yours, how
Hmm.
much of this is coming from your brain, how much of this is you typing words onto a keyboard,
Hmm.
how much of this is being cut and paste from a third party source, how much of this has actually been generated by AI.
Right.
And there might be a legitimate amount that's generated by AI,
Hmm.
in terms of references or summarizing or language, whatever. But if the vast majority of it has been identified by DocuMark as using AI, then the educator's legitimate,
Hmm.
fully legitimate to say, no, this isn't going to happen. You've got to go this and do this yourself. So it's a means of identifying what we call the source of truth.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right. And
how
where
much of it.
where can people find more about DocuMark, Tony?
Just search Inago DocuMark on Google and you'll find a link to that service.
All right. Thanks for the explanation, Tony. Are you ready for the quick hits? We have four.
No. Yes, sorry, I don't know why I said no.
All right. First, from the Atlantic, it is a sort of, I guess, opinionated article. AI is not your friend. So this is written by Mike Caulfield, who I've increasingly seeing as part of my reading list. When I look for interesting things in the context of AI and publishing. So this article discusses how AI chatbots have become opinionated and sycophantic, negatively affecting their potential to provide accurate and unbiased information. The issue is attributed to their training processes, which prioritizes pleasing users over truthfulness, and Caulfield argues for a rethinking of the AI's role as a tool for accessing human knowledge rather than a source of opinion. So, quick thoughts from you, Tony. What do you think?
I've heard this criticism before, and I think this is just continuing case of agentic AI having to get better and better,
Right.
And not necessarily being seen to, provide a supporting positive answer to every human suggestion that's coming through. I mean, there has been some of that, but we're seeing less of that. We are seeing less of that.
Right. And we've already talked about how AI can help code things. And so GitHub is introducing a new AI coding agent that can fix bugs for you. So it is capable of obviously fixing bugs, adding features, and improving code documentation automatically. And it is integrated with the GitHub Copilot and activates when a developer assigns it a task. Sounds very much, I would argue. This is the environment that we are building a peer review assistant around, right? As in to help peer reviewers to do their tasks. To help do these tasks which are time consuming, which the AI can surface very high quality opinion regarding, information regarding. Right.
Yeah.
All right. AI is listening to health conditions now, and this is, I think, what you were
Yeah,
referring to earlier.
I touched on this earlier on. Yeah.
Yeah. So this basically is an article on how AI could revolutionize health diagnostics by analyzing voice recordings. So AI might detect biomarkers for diseases like heart disease and Alzheimer's, providing a non-invasive method for early detection and telemedicine. I think it is very the I guess what lie detector. It is related to the basic principles of a lie detector. What is it? What am I trying to say? The thing that criminals are put through. Is that a lie detector? Polygraph.
Polygraph.
Yeah, polygraph. So
test.
it uses AI but with voice, which is a very interesting non-invasive biomarker.
Well, listen, when I worked in publishing 20 years ago, we launched a journal which was all about how devices can be used to detect illness through breath.
Mm-hmm.
To blow into this bottle and we'll tell you, what illnesses you've got now, what illnesses you can have in 20 years time. And I thought that was forward thinking then. This is proper science fiction. This is proper Star Trek. Star Trek research. They're talking to this microphone and I'll tell you, what kind of cancer you've got. It's horrible. But if it's going to support and help medical diagnostics, then bring it on.
Right. And a related story, how artificial intelligence is transforming pathology. So this discusses the transformative impact of AI on the field of pathology. It highlights the development and application of deep learning models that assist in diagnosing diseases through tissue samples, while also addressing the excitement and skepticism surrounding these advancements. So basically, AI, the practical clinical application of AI, especially in diagnostics and treatment, is something that I am very passionate about because I come from that line of work. And I'm excited. We've discussed a lot of negative aspects of AI. We should always balance it with the positives as well. And I think these are good examples, especially in the form
really good examples
of clinical applications, especially for medical and life sciences research. So with that, Tony, we come to the end of this episode 75. New generation, and obviously you are also a part of one generation, and that generation travels a lot, and you apparently had a exciting weekend traveling and then maybe doing some gigging.
Not so much traveling. Well, I suppose a little bit of travel to get to the yes, I performed. I'm in an Irish folk band, and we performed at what's called a folkathon, which was a kind of a mini folk festival,
right?
In Gloucestershire in England, not far from here. So basically the thing started at 7 o'clock at night, and they played all through the night, and just carried on till they collapsed 24 hours later. And so we played during the second half of that set. So that gathering.
So is there what is videographic evidence of you collapsing on the internet?
I hope not. I didn't go. I didn't have the strength to go through all night. I just rocked up when it was time to play. But there were people there that had been playing whose fingers were raw or their cheeks were blown out because they've been playing the flute for so long. Yeah.
All right. So if somebody is interested in not looking at the videos of you crashing, but is interested in knowing more about PubShorts, all the 74 previous episodes, Inago, Trinka, or our peer review assistant DocuMark, Responsible AI, where can they find more about us as well as you and me?
Well, all the products that we've talked about, you can find out more about those on inago.com. Just go to the publishers page on inago.com, or in fact, just search Google and you'll find links to those topics. And equally, but PubShorts, as I mentioned at the top of this episode, these are all on YouTube. All previous 74 episodes are on YouTube. So just press like, share, send us your comments and ideas for future topics.
Yeah.
And we look forward to hearing from you. Yeah, and you'll be able to watch all previous episodes.
Excellent. And if you're watching it live, I think we have some listeners. If you want to ask a question, you can also drop it in the YouTube chat section and we will try to answer these for
Anytime,
you. Yeah. And
anytime.
thank you for your, we value your listenership and viewership, as well as your comments and your suggestions regarding the show. So until the next time, which is episode 76, this is Dr. KK signing off for Tony, as well as for the team that helps us support, to help support us to bring such content out. We will see you in the next one. Bye, Tony.
See you in the next one.